Hello and thank you for watching this Capital Creation podcast. I'm Dan Mellins-Cohen, online editor for Capital Creation, and today I'm joined by Vince O'Brien, the Director of Montague Private Equity. Thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure, Dan.
Perhaps if we start off by just giving us a brief introduction to Montague.
Yes, Montague Private Equity, we're a European mid-market buyout house. We've been around for some time, since 1968, and earlier this year we raised our fourth big private equity fund, a $2.5 billion fund for investing in Northern Europe.
So if we take a look at the relationship between LPs and GPs, how have you seen that develop over the last 12 months?
Well, I've probably had a very good picture of how it's developed because we've been fundraising for most of the last 12 months. I think what we found really is that we've been pleasantly surprised how strong support is for European private equity. The good LPs out there realise that Europe is a good place to invest. They realise that the environment is good for private equity. And I believe they realise that now and the next 5 years should be a good time to invest and to carry on making the returns they want to make. So I'm optimistic about relationships between LPs and GPs.
And now that we're very much on the way up from the downturn, it's been a very difficult and busy fundraising environment of late. What will be the key difference to guarantee a successful close in 2011 over that of 2010?
Yeah, I think we were lucky to a certain extent because we came out before many of the rest, and we all know that 2011 and 12 is going to be quite crowded. The key to success, I think the key to success will be, can you prove that your investment strategy worked through the downturn? You might recall a few years back people were predicting that private equity portfolios would fall over in Europe. Well, guess what? They haven't, because we're quite good at doing it in Europe. We're quite good at finding good companies to invest in. We're quite good at creating value, and you haven't seen a massive decline in these portfolios. So I think that's the message we need to get across to LPs, and I think that's going to be the challenge for anyone raising a fund in this year and next year.
And looking, although I know obviously you deal in Europe, have you found that the crises of the Middle East and Japan have affected you at all? And if so, how so?
I think uncertainty around the world affects everyone. It affects business. What's happening, what's happening in Japan, what's happening in the Middle East, but also what's happened during the financial crisis has obviously had an impact. But what I really think what's happened is it's made people think about Europe again, and it's made them think, well, if I want to invest for the long term or the medium term, I should invest in a region which is going to guarantee me, or at least I can rely on, to be safe, secure. And I think the impact for private equity is relatively positive in terms of people will look at Europe as a safe place to invest going forward. And that gives me a great deal of confidence.
So do you think then that's going to have, conversely, a negative impact that when people are looking at the more high-risk world of BRIC nations and such like? Have you found that you're watching people who've played in that area look at it and think, well, actually, right now we need to be secure, we need to be steady and ride the wave?
No, I think on the contrary, I'm no specialist in investing in the developing markets, so I couldn't tell you how you invest in those places because that is for specialists. But private equity, you have to remember that private equity, wherever you do it, the great benefit private equity has is it achieves absolute congruence between the management of a business and the shareholders of a business. And I think regardless of the region, that's what makes private equity work. And that's why private equity is a popular asset class. Now, how do you choose region by region? Well, it's down to the expertise of the people. And sure, some areas have been difficult, some will be difficult, but good private equity managers will continue to make money in these places.
And looking at regulation, do you think that the current level of regulation is as it should be? Do you think there needs to be more? Do you think there's a danger of becoming over-regulated and actually stifling the market?
There's always a danger of being over-regulated, of course, but for the man on the street, If he looks at what happened during the banking crisis in the last 3 years, you really cannot say to the man on the street that no regulation is a good thing. And I defy anybody to go against that view. So what you have to have is sensible regulation. You need to have regulation that is put in place after good consultation, after listening to what the industry needs. So, do you know, I'm probably different to some people. I'm actually in favour of regulation, because I think then we can hold our heads up and say that we are a regulated industry and that we do care about what we're doing. So let's have regulation, let's make it sensible, is my view.
Okay, so we're almost out of time, so perhaps if you could just tell us about the panel session that you're going to be on and perhaps what a preview of your views are.
Yes, well, having just raised a fund, I'm delighted to say that my panel is about fundraising, but I'm very excited about it because we do have some very good people on the panel, and I'm hoping that what it will achieve will give some insights into how to raise a fund and indeed into how to keep your LPs happy. It's focusing on LP-GP relationships, and I hope as chairman I can pass on a little bit of knowledge, but I also hope that we'll have a good discussion, which I'm sure we will, on what really works. Because looking after LPs is the lifeblood of this business. That's where our money comes from that we invest. So it's a big topic, and I'm looking forward to discussing it.
And I'm looking forward to being there in the audience to listen to it.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much, Vince, for taking part and talking to us today. If you want to find out more about that panel session and all the panel sessions at Capital Creation, make sure to visit www.capitalcreationeurope.com.